Well, hello and a very warm welcome back up to the main layout. And I've got a few items to show you today. We're going to have a bit of running too, but some things from the Train Collectors Society show. And I bet you're thinking, why has he got those MOSFETs lying on the layout? Well, I'll tell you why. Look down here. Two excellent MRC controllers all the way over from Canada. David Atkins, who I met at the show the other week, has brought these over. He hoped I could perhaps repair them. Well, indeed I have, and I'm also having a bit of fun running them. But of course, all of you that know about the States and Canada will know that they have a different electrical system over there, sort of 110, 120 volts. So look at this transformer. Big old thing, full of oil, lots of capacity. Actually, you can run a welder off it, so train transformers or train controllers won't be an issue. But we've got a really safe 110 volt AC output going into these two lovely controllers, and I'm going to show you how these work in a minute, especially this one, which has got some very interesting features. It's got a brake and a momentum control on it, so we'll have fun with those. A brief description of the repair. The Rail Power 1400, this little MOSFET was just open circuit. Don't know what had happened to that, but it's not the original. Someone's replaced it before. This, the one out of the Locomotion 2500, that's an original. Look at that, lovely old thing. I looked at the data sheets and came up with an alternative for both. And these are only a matter of a few pence each. So I've got a few spares for David to take back with him. Let's show you a photo of this. It just goes onto a heat sink, 3 wires. Make sure you put a bit of thermal paste on to dissipate the heat. So that was quite an easy fix. When we come to the other one, well, a little bit more difficult. Lift the legs up off a printed circuit board. Hopefully you can see that in the photograph. And then lift the board up to get to the heatsink. But very, very simple repairs. And both controllers running beautifully. Lots of power available. This substitution rated at around 60 volts and possibly up to 6 or 7 amps. So more power than you'll ever need. Okay, let's look at these items. I'm quite excited to show you these. Look at this Triang Fog Signal RT267. And I'll just lift the lid. And there's a wonderful item in there. We'll sort this out another week. No instructions, sadly. But I do have some caps somewhere, so we'll get this on the layout. But I'm very pleased to get it. And it's a lovely little box, so we will be looking at that in a future video. Pop that there. You know I'm interested in running our train sets with battery controllers, so look at this, a Triang RT42. So I do have another train set to run possibly next week, and I'm going to use this, a lovely Triang item. You can see where the power goes in and out with these little plugs, and it's never ever Bakelite, I think, or something. It's not chipped. The knob's in good condition, and it's got a cutout too, so I'm looking forward to using that. The final item I'm going to just briefly show you this week is this really nice Wren Pullman car. It's the W6002B first class kitchen car, Belinda. It is an item I've been after for a little while. Wren didn't particularly make very many of these, so it's lovely to get one in nice condition in its proper box. And I think when I do run the Clan Line locomotive, we might have a nice Pullman train. Okay, well, I think it's time to have a go with these controllers. I'm desperately interested to show you the momentum on this Triang Class 37. I've had some really great slow starts. And then right at the back of the railway that's a Princess Elizabeth, the green one. with some blood and custard coaches. So I'm just going to get ready to get to these controllers now, and we'll have some fun running these locos. Right, well, first one, I've just got to grip this with my fingers. It's the Locomotion 2500, and as I put some power on, you'll see this Class 37 start to move. And I've just got it set as a normal controller at the moment because I want to drive that round and park it in the main station. So I'm just easing a bit of power on. Lovely smooth operation on these controllers, but very analog, so great fun. Now I just want the front peeping out of the shed. That's how I want it. So we'll come back to that in a minute, but first of all, let's just look at this more basic controller. Now I'm going to run the Princess Elizabeth. Now as I put it on, you might notice the more power you put on, a little bit of a glimmer. It's green, it's difficult to pick out, but you do get a visual indication of power. And we'll just look at this come by, making some great triang noises, hauling those really quite bright coaches. Okay, well I'm going to park that somewhere now because I'm going to just pull it right through the station into a stop there, because I want you to be able to see how this other controller works. So I mean, I probably haven't got this right, and I haven't got an instruction book, but we've got a brake that's spring loaded. So when you want to operate the brake, you hold it against the spring. Now I'm just going to set this. Well, that's a little bit of an operator error, so we're going to drive it round again. It is set to operate as a normal controller. I'm just going to bring that round. I was just going to set up the momentum, but I've not quite done it right. But let's just get this round again and we'll have another attempt. These Triang Class 37s are good fun. Right, let's just get his nose sticking out of the shed. There we go. Right, so I'm just going to switch the power off, and then I'm going to select, I'm going to aim that flat side at about the 30 mark. I'm going to put the momentum switch on. I'm going to switch the controller on, light there that says momentum. Let's see what happens. Can you see it moving? It's just inching along, isn't it? Making some sort of excellent noises, a bit like half wave, but slightly smoother. It's just crossing that set of points. No extra pickups on this, just the power bogey. All the time the speed is increasing nicely. But what a lovely automatic acceleration curve on this really good analog controller. Coming past the newly extended station and then over a couple of diamonds can be difficult for these Triang power bogies, but we're now more or less up to the pre-selected cruising speed. And I just think, well, this is nice DC running. These controllers are certainly interesting items. So that Class 37 now has more or less got itself up to a cruising speed. We'll let it go round once more, then I'm going to demonstrate the brake. Of course, the locos always perform better when they're a bit warmer, and that was virtually a cold start over at the big station. So just to remind you, what I'm going to do in a minute is nothing other than just briefly hold this brake over against the spring. So let's see, where's the Class 37? It's just coming round the back of the layout. So 1 or 2 gentle squeezes and we've already got brake going on, and holding it firm now. Just want to nose it out again. Oh, look at this, come along, right, stop there. So we'll go through the procedure again. I've got my hand on the brake, the momentum is set exactly as it was previously, so brake now off, and then we get a few seconds while things start to happen. Hard to believe that you can get this sort of scale running from a 1960s Triang loco, but you can. Lots of fun to be had with these vintage DC models, and half the fun is not on the tracks either. It's the cleaning and the restoration of the motors and getting everything running just as it would have done when it came out of the factory. And here it comes. Let's follow it. Well, I think David's going to be pleased with his controllers, and I know that he's got a friend that's got one with similar problems, so that's why I've given him a sprinkling of spare parts. And all you need really is a soldering iron and a little tube of thermal paste, the sort of stuff you use to put a heat sink on a computer processor. But that's going beautifully, isn't it? Well, I'm going to bring it back into the station. I'm going to enjoy using the brake again. So let's just let it go right to the far side of the layout. And then the brake going on. You can release and just apply the brake bit by bit to get the most gentle of stops. Very happy. Okay, right, well, what I'm going to do is I've just switched the controller off now to neutralize the momentum. I'm going to put the momentum off, turn it back to 0 and use it now as a normal controller. And as I put the power on, you can just see the green indicator glimmering. So I'm going to set the speed now manually, and here comes the class 37. And then on the other item, I'm just going to set the speed on the Princess Elizabeth, and there's the glimmer. You can reverse the directions just like on my Gauge Master, but very simple controllers, but superb items. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed seeing a few of the items that are going to be appearing on the layout shortly. I've got more to show you. And the controllers that have come over the Atlantic now working have been interesting too. I certainly had a nice hour or so fixing them up. Well, I think that's probably as much as I've got to say this week. I'm going to enjoy running these 2 locos now for a minute or 2. Next week I think we have got a train set to run, and let's see if there's any power left in those batteries and we could have a go with this excellent item, the RT42. So until then, I'll leave you with these 2 locos, and I'll say goodbye.